Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's a good evening, of course, from the studios in Brisbane. You're listening to Radio FM 88 Australia. You can catch us up on YouTube and Facebook. And afterwards, you can go to Spotify, iHeart Radio, Amazon, Google, and Apple. During the course of the week, if you wish to, you can go Alexa, play Radio FM 88 Australia. Now, yesterday, Facebook had an issue, went out for 3 hours. You may find that if you're on the Facebook show watching, within about 20 minutes, you might find it just comes up with a little pop-up box to say it's switched off. That's not the case at all. You just got to reboot the Facebook site and then you can still continue watching it. But in the meantime, if you want to jump onto YouTube, Radio FM 88 Australia. Now, without further ado, I'll pass you over to the very top of the hit parade here in blue.
Hi, everybody. Welcome and good morning to Dreaming the New Dream, wherever you are in the world, or if you're listening to the replay. Today is the 7th of March, 2024, and it's a number 9 day. And as you know, I love number 9 because I'm all 9. So, yes, I wonder what I'll be completing today. Anyway, it's my great privilege to have Dr. Alex Ling on the show today. So welcome, Alex. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me today. It's a beautiful day outside, so yes, thanks.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. So we're both in Glastonbury today. Right, so I'm not sure, you started off in Germany and you've worked your way up as a doctor, and there's so many things I want to ask you and popping in and out. So I think if we start off with your journey in Germany and how you started as a GP, and then you've gone more into health and well-being of people, but also along the track, you've what I'm really interested in is frequencies and sound and how you work with the Stones and about the Merry Maidens and all of these things. So if I hand it over to you to start how your journey started you off and where you are now, okay. Please share.
Yeah, I will do that. Yes, so starting way back in Germany when my mother is actually also in the medical trade. So, and through that, I kind of followed a little bit the family history, if you like, and studied medicine. So I was a general practitioner for a while, and but found out very quickly that it wasn't really my calling, not in the terms of working for the hospital. So what I did is I retrained in functional medicine, which was much more my kind of thing, because I always believed that the best way of healing people is to heal people holistically and not just use conventional medicine to patch up the symptoms. So, but that's a different story. So anyway, from that, I also was studying art in Düsseldorf. So when I studied art, I had in mind that I would work with stone, because I was always very, very passionate about stone and rocks. When I was a kid, I used to go through the forest or through the landscape in general and just kind of start picking up, little pebbles and put them in my stone and in my pocket. And then I had like a whole collection on my shelf in my bedroom, so all these different stones and different types of rocks and crystals. And yeah, so I kind of started to develop a real passion for stone. But I did work as a GP, as I said, for a while, and then I retrained functional medicine. From there, I kind of hand in hand started to study art as well. So eventually, I came to Britain as a tourist first, and that was kind of mid-80s, 1985, 4 even. And so my first destination was Tintagel in Cornwall. And first thing which I kind of saw was Boscastle, coming into Boscastle. And the coastline, when I first time I saw it was completely like an inner calling. I kind of had this feeling that I had been there before, and it just felt like coming back home. So from that moment, really, I was determined to move to Cornwall, to Britain. And so it took another 4 years until 1989. So I revisited, that's it. Beautiful area. So I revisited Cornwall on a regular basis, and then decided one day, okay, I'm going to do this. Now I'm also a passionate horse person. I have been riding since the age of 5, and I had horses at the time, but I also had dogs. So I had to make a decision, which was really difficult for me. So because I either could take my dogs or my horses, because there was quarantine in place, so I decided to take my dogs, and I left my horses behind with someone who took them on. So, and so coming to Cornwall, I was thinking my English at the time was terrible. Even so, we learned English in school. Being in Cornwall, it was like being on a different planet because of the Cornish accent. So I could not understand anyone, And, so I thought, oh, my kind of Oxford English is no good here. So, anyway, it took me a while to get used to it, but I needed to do something. And that's when I started to fall back on my art education. And I was just sitting on the beach in Trebarvis Strand, which is just, next to Tintagel. And I picked up a pebble, as I always did anyway. And it felt like different because it was a little bit softer. And I thought, I probably can do something with that. So I started to carve little patterns and shapes and all sorts, So to the point that I started to make pendants. And so actually for the first few years, I supported myself by making pendants, which I was getting quite good in, and I sold those pendants to local shops, King Arthur's bookshop or whatever it was called in Tintagel, they stocked it, and many other places too. So, and from that point, I was also pointed towards Glastonbury, and some people told me about Glastonbury. I didn't know it at all, so I'd never been there. And then one day I decided, okay, I take a trip to Glastonbury. I took a lot of my stock and decided to just see what it's all about. Was intrigued because it was being talked about as the hippie kind of central, of Europe. And I thought, that sounds my kind of place, to go to. Anyway, so I went, and then I met Glenn from Starchild, and he loved my pendants, so I kind of just started to stock them, and so I kind of developed really from there. And then equally my English was getting better, so I was able to work a little bit, in my medical profession as well as a private practitioner. And so so the first few years were kind of building up, having my place in Britain, and just finding my own kind of roots here, also backing up my financial situation and stuff. So while I was doing that, I also started to study intensively the megalithic sites, because I was just like a kid in a sweet shop here, So I mean, we have ancient sites in Germany as well, of course, but you have to travel quite a bit. I was raised and born near the Dutch border, so it's pretty flat, and most of the ancient sites are unfortunately demolished by the farming community, so because they just don't want to have the stones, and they're not protected, and even still today it's a big issue, so that farmers can just push them aside. So, but so in Britain, especially in Cornwall, I just was in heaven, So I went to visit all the sites. I spent as much time with the stones, I learned everything about Neolithic time periods, and I was very intrigued by how connected these people were, you know, and how absolutely accurate their the way they had to lay out those stone circles. And then I learned also about the land, you know, the ley lines and energy lines, and how they actually got to place those stone circles in these kind of areas, and what kind of criteria they had and stuff like that. So I went really on a deep journey to learn everything about it, to the point that I also learned about Neolithic pottery. I learned to earth fire pottery, because I wanted really to be as authentic as possible, and kind of learn how they lived as well. So I went back to Germany for a few months, and I took part in a kind of, it was a bit like an experiment in a way, how people would function in an Iron Age village. And I stayed there for 4 months over the winter time. Now that was really tough, and we got a little bit of support, you know, in terms of food, but we had to really stick it out and live in roundhouses, and it was quite tough. Anyway, so the good thing was, the good thing was that it was there was no electricity, completely off grid, and I noticed that my senses would go into completely different. I would be able to sharpen my senses in a way how and notice things around me which I wouldn't have noticed before living in a sheltered house with electricity and all this. So I was on a major detox actually for 3 or 4 weeks, and then just kind of it completely changed my life. So when I returned to Britain, I knew that our ancestors were massively evolved, and we are the ones actually who are quite primitive in that way, you know. So we're not able to use our senses anymore. Anyway, so then after years, I did travel a lot as well. I lived in Scotland for a while, and that's a different story altogether. My father, he was a little bit involved with the Freemasons, and I did try and find out a bit about their kind of ways and what it was all about. So and not going into too much detail, but I got burnt a little bit because I knocked on doors which I shouldn't have, probably. I lived next door to the Royals at Balmoral. I was actually on the estate, and I was working as a sculptor at the time quite intensely. So I won a few awards and kind of got quite known. But due to personal issues with my neighbors, I had to leave the country for a little while, and so I had to go to. First, I traveled back to Germany, and then I traveled to Spain, and from Spain I traveled to Turkey, and in Turkey I visited Göbekli Tepe in 2004. So that was I met Klaus Schmidt, the leading archaeologist at the time. So, and it was an amazing journey and a big eye opener how everything kind of works together, you know. So I connected all the dots between the Masons, the Templars, you know, what we call controllers. I mean, everything was just kind of opening up in front of me, and all the ancient sites are a big part of it. So in Göbekli Tepe, I learned also that archaeology is, or our history is the same kind of manipulated as many other things around us. So, and that's something which many archaeologists are aware of, because they have to stick to certain timelines in history, which is given usually by the archaeological societies. And so if they find something which doesn't fit in, what happens is either it just disappears, or it will be just stored somewhere away, never be seen again, and not being released to the public at all. So, and many texts, ancient texts, are on those kind of, lines, disappearing without humans or us people even knowing of their existence, which are fundamentally quite important to our history. But they tell a slightly different story, and they don't want us to know that.
No, of course not.
Yes. So yeah, and Göbekli Tepe was an amazing site. I felt really home in Turkey, because my mother actually, her family came from Urfa, which is old Sumerian territory. So, and yes, so it was a real similar really to coming to Cornwall for the first time. I felt really drawn to the area. But Cornwall still outweighed. I returned to Britain after a while, and met my partner Vivian. And so when I met her and I told her all this kind of stuff, so she thought I was crazy.
Still does. What are you saying?
I know. So I told her that, what is going on in the world, basically, So, and I was way before my time, really. So, and yeah, so it was really difficult. Also because when you experience all these kind of things, and you probably are very similar to me in that respect, because you have that kind of knowledge for 40 years, and trying to shout it out to people and try and make them see, what's happening, can be very frustrating, because
Very.
look at you and think you're absolutely mad,
Yeah.
But as of late, of course, things are turning our way, really, so that things are getting quite noticeable, and even people who are not as awake are now questioning what is going on. So
Which is fantastic now. People are having much more of awareness of what's going on. I know you've got some lovely pictures that you sent, and you mentioned in Turkey, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but I know I saw some lovely carvings on some of those stones.
Yes,
that's absolutely amazing.
Probably pillar 43, which is in Göbekli Tepe. Yeah, so that's like the story. I have a presentation usually where I go and explain what the connection between water and ancient site is. So quasars, just to very quickly, is a body which is existing next to a black hole, and it's a very light, bright body in the universe, which basically outshines everything around it, and it also contains a huge amount of water, in terms of water, like a water vapor, and this cloud of water is just existing on the edge of the quasar. Absolutely incredible. Huge amounts of water, as it says here, 140 trillion times the amount of water found in all our oceans combined. I mean, that's just like an insane amount of water. So the new study is really that some of the galaxies, including ours, possibly being created through the process of going through a quasar and picking up the water on the way. So that's in short.
Right, okay.
That kind of makes sense to me, and that's why I also was connected to. That's why I explained, it's just very briefly, the connection our ancestors have with water. So they call it the cosmic water, ever since, anyway. So they know that water came from the cosmos. So as in so many times, and many ways, they are so much more switched on than our scientists, who kind of stumble behind, and then suddenly that's, oh yes, it comes out of the cosmos, but they already talked about it like 14,000 years ago, that it's cosmic water. Anyway, so water is living water, of course. It's a blueprint of life. It's within us, around us, it's everywhere. We are literally almost like fish, inside water. And we are like walking vessels of water, 92% on a cellular level. So the connection between water and granite is simple. Water has a percentage of water inside, not as in water drops or something, but it is sitting within the crystals, the rock crystals, which are part of the granite. And the next picture, I think, shows a little part of a crystal rock, which contains the water. That's it. So that's just the cove where I live. So I put it outside. There's a bit of sunshine on it. And you can see inside the next one. Yeah, that's where you can see like little tiny chambers. And within those chambers, there's like tiniest bits of water vapor inside those crystal chambers. If you would open them up, it would evaporate immediately. But the point is, it's still water, and it contains all the information from the day of creation. And that's the blueprint of life.
Amazing, eh?
Yeah, and it's all within us as well, so we're all part of it. So yeah, that's Karachadak or Karakadak. I never can pronounce this quite right. So that's the area. I apologize to the Turkish people.
No. It's fine.
So this is the area of Göbekli Tepe, and you have the Euphrates, the river, and you have on the other side the Tigris. So these kind of two water systems are very important because Mesopotamia translated means a land between water. So these two river systems are crucial for the whole development of all the civilizations which are in the middle of it, including the Göbekli Tepe sites. Now, some of the, and there's Haran as well. Now, Haran is a very, very important area. As of late, I started to look into it again, and I'm going to return actually to the area after I've been to Mexico, after the solar eclipse, which we talk about in a minute. And Megiddo, which is not on that map, it's closer to Israel. That's where all the conflicts are. So Megiddo is a really important point. Historically, always been a very conflict-driven area because it's like the highway from the Arab countries going into Turkey to Europe. It's just incredible. Also, the home of the Anunnaki and many of these ancient civilizations, the gods, the warlords, all these kind of things. So there's a lot of history being written about it, and a lot of history being hidden about it. So, but coming back to Göbekli Tepe, so yeah, that's one of the most important sites of recent which has been excavated. So this is only a small part of it because the whole area is about 10 kilometers wide and growing, because there is more and more evidence that there's like Karahan Tepe, which is about an hour away from Göbekli Tepe. So, and all these sites are connected. And my friend Erhan, who is an archaeologist in the area, he has provided quite interesting things. That's Göbekli Tepe. That's like a reconstruction, actually, of the site. Officially 11,600 years old. It varies depending what archaeologists you have. But so Karahan Tepe is about 2,000 years older than Göbekli Tepe, and so on. So there are some sites which are dating back way before the Great Flood. And there's a whole kind of story attached to the Great Flood and how they try to tell us that it happened in a different timeline, because some of the evidence which I found out about these sites is they had all something in common, which is that they are all been affected by solar events. And around 13,000 years ago, a massive solar event, similar to what we are experiencing at the minute, the solar maximum, but it had more dramatic effects. For whatever reason, they decided to, or not they decided, they had the only choice they had is to actually go from above the ground to go and live underground for safety reasons in that time until things have normalized. But also because of one of the big solar events which occurred, also triggered a sudden ice melt on this planet, so that we had the great flood. And so that's why they decided, or they had no other choice than to relocate into higher ground. And that's why they abandoned the lower tepes, because they would be flooded, and then they would come to higher levels and recreate it. So some of the that's the pillar 43, very famous pillar. There is a bird which many people have different viewpoints about. Many say it's a vulture, some say it's a swan, some others say it's a phoenix. I kind of more verging towards a phoenix, just because it's holding a sphere on its left wing. That's the one. And this sphere is actually representing the sun. So there are some coincidences, or synchronicities more like, of the Iranian civilization, which is not far from there, that they have been actively involved in the area in the build of one of the earlier tepes. So they were extremely knowledgeable when it came to astrology, astronomy, and they would forecast when the eclipse would happen. I'm talking from the solar eclipse. Now, the solar eclipse is, in Sumerian times or in ancient times in general, a very, very, very important event. And not only because it's something which would enhance, because magic was kind of their religion, if you like. So in that respect, they would use certain elements of it to enhance certain energies. But mainly, there's an ancient text, which is a Sumerian text, and dates back almost 14,000 years. And it's about a substitute king. And this text has been actually hidden from us for a very long time, have been stolen by the Rockefeller family, strangely.
No surprise there.
Yes, and so it talks about the eclipse and how in that time the kings and the queens would have replacements, so that they would be safeguarded and not be overruled, because within that time of the eclipse something extraordinary happens. The energy around the world, especially because we are bodies of water and we live on a blue planet, so is being enhanced, and the frequency of this planet is changing. Now that's Karan Tepe, very interestingly. This is like carved out of the bedrock, and these areas supposed to have been filled with water previously. Again, water is a very important point in all ancient sites. But coming back to the eclipse. So in that time, when the eclipse occurred, they were worried that we as humans would connect to each other on a conscious level and we would be having a one in a lifetime chance, to basically get rid of the controllers and take over, or reclaim, not take over, reclaim what is ours in the first place, because we are creators. We don't need any rulers. We don't need anybody who we are and what we are and where to go. We all know that very well ourselves. All the things, the simplest thing, which is like us connecting, is exactly what they're fearing for. And that's why they always kind of divide and conquer, because it's much easier to rule us that way. And fear, of course, amazing tool, works every time.
Definitely.
So in that time, they were extremely worried about it. So they would have replacement kings and queens. And then after the event finished, they would just kind of kill them off, and the real ones would go back into place. Which makes me wonder what is happening at the moment with the,
Definitely.
around the world. Something is happening here. So I think this eclipse is one of these kind of 1 in a million events.
Because we've got one coming up soon, haven't we? In what is it, 4 weeks time?
In 4 weeks time. And it's an amazing eclipse. We had already one which travels through America, but there's a second one coming now. So which is the shadow, the longest duration is in Mexico, in a very strange area, which is called the Zone of Silence, which is near Durango and Mapimi. Now, this area has its own magnetic field. And if you travel into that area, your compass will just keep spinning and spinning. The vegetation in that area is extraordinarily different because of the energy. So it's kind of all a bit mutated, and even the animal or insects are affected by it. Now, there are some ancient sites in the area, I've been told just lately. And there's like a tabletop hill, which we're going to go to as well. So the eclipse will occur on the 8th of April, 8th of the 4th. And the path, the longest duration is 4 minutes, 28 seconds, 0.1. So that is exactly within the zone of silence. And the reason why it's called that is because one of the governments, the Mexican governments, was traveling through the zone, and he wanted to listen to the radio, and it didn't work in the zone. So that's why they call it the Zone of Silence, because they had no radio signal. Yes. But yes, it's full of conspiracies. Many people. There are two labs. One is a biosphere lab, which is kind of in the center of it, studying the unusual plant life. And the other one is a governmental lab, which nobody knows really what it's for. And there are all sorts of strange and wonderful stories about the area. Some say there's a tunnel system underneath. Some other stories are that there is a big craft being buried underneath in the center of the desert, which would explain maybe the strange electromagnetic field. So also the meteorites, it's like a real attraction for meteorites. So many meteorite hunters go in the area because they were crashing into that specific field. So definitely an unusual thing. A lot of UFO sightings as well. It's about 6 hours away from Roswell. So yeah, it's on the same line. And yeah, a lot of activities. One of the guys who works in the biosphere lab, he supposedly have had some strange encounter with some Pleiades in the kind of there's a whole story about it, and he quit his job and talked about it later. So anyway, yeah, it's all sorts of different things, but the main reason why we go there is because of the longest duration. Strangely, when you look it up, it kind of changed a little bit, so they keep changing the time, and that's something which is very difficult for us to find out. We are going to have a massive event which is connected to that event because of the ancient texts and many people around the world who are very active for many years, been studying what is going on this planet and being part of this, what I always call a bit like, it's almost like a human freedom movement, you know, to liberate us from this from these controllers. So, and we all are pretty sure that this is an extremely important event for humanity. We also researched how we can assist humanity to connect to each other on a very conscious level. And then I studied for a long time, and coming back now to the frequencies, I studied the effects of humans within the field of megalithic sites and how we can connect to those megalithic sites as well. Taking into account all my research I've done personally with stone and water, and that's where it all kind of connected. There is a frequency within the stones, of course, and we tried to record it the best we could to have some form of communication. And the reason for that is because the stone bears like a blueprint of everything which, if you take, for example, the Merry Maidens, which was one of the stone circles which we worked with, which is in Penwith. And we went into the stone circle, you know, many times. So we needed to kind of find a way how we could excite the stone on in a way which is recordable and in an audible kind of way. And this is one of the recordings we did. So it's a bit complicated. I'll try to make a long story very short. So our idea was to use a certain frequency. That's Vivian. And she is actually using, sorry, I'm jumping just to explain what this is here. So one of the things which we developed is acclaim, which is a water, not just any water, it's a structured water, which is almost like a water plasma, which communicates with the stone on a frequency level. It also communicates with us. So it kind of unlocks really an incredible possibility to connect all our consciousness together again, not only to promote self-healing, but also it kind of brings us in a state where our senses are being instantaneously being heightened. And so we use this, you know, around the world now, people are taking it and having incredible experiences. But we use it also on the stones. So we put a drop on the stones of the Merry Maidens to kind of prepare the stones. And she is doing that. And then after, what happened was quite incredible, because I was in the center of the stone, and then suddenly I saw Vivian running off and one of my assistants. So they were kind of running off. And I was in the center first. And I didn't know why they were running. So I then stepped outside the stone circle, and I actually noticed that there was a huge rainbow appearing above the site. And it was not raining inside the circle, but it was raining outside the circle. And there it is again. So yeah, so I was at the time inside, and the rainbow appeared. And then I stepped outside, took the shot, because I thought, wow, this is incredible. And I got drenched afterwards. And so this rainbow was standing above the site, was just there for exactly an hour.
Wow.
That was incredible. To the second, it was just absolutely amazing. And there were some other people on nearby who came to join us, and we were all just staring at it, and we just couldn't believe it. The energy was incredible. No, we didn't know that had anything to do with the acclaim at the time. But on the next pictures, we went to a different site with our friends, which is actually, that's me, yeah, that's the site. That's Clay Hill in near Warminster. And so these people are all our friends. So we do this very often. We go on a trip and go to different ancient sites. And Clay Hill, yes, is one of those specific sites where there's a lot of energy and activity. One of my favorite sites. And so I, again, kind of put a little bit, it was me this time, putting some of the drops onto the site. There were some trees. And sure enough, on one of the next pictures, I think the next one is when I'm looking actually at that. So the rainbow appeared again.
Wow.
It's just like incredible. So that was actually the third time it happened, because we did the same thing in Boskoven Un, which is also a stone circle, and it happened again. So it starts now to kind of be a pattern. Now that's our sound technician. And you can see how we are inside, the chambers, and so we're using a certain signal which excites the stones, and that signal is between roughly 300 and 1200 hertz, just around that area. And that sound just happened to be the sound of a whale.
Yeah.
So we have tried so many different sounds and nothing came back to us at all. But when we used actually a sound which originated from a whale, the stone started to respond. And now here on this one, you can see what's happening. So I explain that very quickly. When we put the stone, we hooked up a number 16, which is like a beautiful stone in the Merry Maidens. And we worked with the stone on an ongoing basis, because this stone is very chatty. So, and then we put a specific loudspeaker on one side, and then we have a very, very sensitive microphone on the other side. Now we seal it off so that no other sound is interfering. And then we played the signal to the stone. Now, one of our friends who is a scientist who did actually this chart for us, he's incredibly smart and much smarter than me. And he explained it. He said it would take usually 0.2 milliseconds from one side of the stone, given it's about 1 meter, which is the length of the stone, traveling from one side to another. So that would take 0.2 milliseconds. Now that is when I'm speaking and you can hear my sound immediately. That's how quick it is, right? So that's because granite is a huge conductor. It goes through it quicker than steel, the sound. And so it would take usually 0.2 milliseconds. Now here we can see that the sound had a delay coming from one side to another, 1.2 seconds. Now that's massively longer than in physics actually it should happen. So, and the second signal, which was even longer, it was 2.9 seconds. That's like, me speaking and you not hearing me for 2.9 seconds and then you hear me, okay? Yeah. So that's how the delay is. Incredible. And we thought, what happened? What happened to the sound? Where is it gone? What happened here? So then we kind of started to investigate it. And we came to the point with the two scientists I'm working with that they said, well, it looks like that the stone, which contains the water, has acted here a little bit like a supercomputer, kind of processed the sound and has decided to play a different sound back, because not only that there is delay, the sound also had been elongated. So there's a longer sound actually coming out than came in. So which is another strangeness about this whole thing. So we recorded it about 6 times, and it was always the same kind of result. And then I thought that there is something here. We tapped into something which never done before. So the stone started literally to communicate with us. Now, we do not know actually at this point what the stone is saying.
No.
But obviously, you know, it's on us now to find a translation for it. So it's going to be still a very long process. But I think that the stone has absorbed, obviously, over thousands of years, all sorts of different frequencies and memories, and it's all in there. So we just used the first word which the stone actually could understand, or letter even.
You need a stone whisperer.
Yes, exactly. Well, yes, exactly. I mean, I that's how I came actually to the signal in the first place, because I was going through, I mean, we were literally going through hundreds and hundreds of different signals, you know, what we could use. And then it just kind of dawned to me, on me, that water, ocean, whale, you know, the variation of the frequency which the whale sound consists of, which is like many, many different frequencies. And so, yeah, it was kind of a no-brainer then. But yes, so when we figured out how to do that, we also opened up a completely new understanding how we could possibly tap into something which would give us access to a huge library of our past, and that's really the way we're going forward now, to make that link to the past. And we are working on something quite incredible at the moment, because every stone circle, like the Merry Maidens, Boscavenon, most of the well-known stone circles had actually something called the pipers. Now, the piper stones are huge standing stones, about 5 meters tall, and they're very kind of how far they are away. In this case of the Merry Maidens, the 2 pipers are on the other side of the road in the field, about 330 meters, actually exactly, away from the main site. And they align, of course, perfectly. So the interesting thing is that the story of the pipers is a folklore, right? So the folklore is that the pipers would, the 2 standing stones, would be playing an instrument, in this instance a flute, and the sound of it would make the stones, the 19 maidens, dance. And now that folklore is known around the whole world. It's not just specifically in Europe. And then I thought, that's not a coincidence here. There is something going on, you know. So what's happening? So then we researched, and we found out that there is a sound connected to the flute, and that is a frequency in a range of the note is C4. It's a low note, and it can be only played by a flute. You need an ancient flute actually to play that sound. And in Göbekli Tepe, one of these flutes have been found near Göbekli Tepe, which was made from bone. So and that would resonate. And there's a lot of stories around Turkey where the flute plays a really, really important part again. So the frequency is 262, but varies depending on the harmonics. Now, when we researched it, we came to the incredible understanding that just of late, in 23, the scientists have recorded a sound coming from the universe, from the gravitational waves, which is a resonance or a blueprint, if you like, a bit like the water and the stones, carrying the sound of creation. And that is, surprise, surprise, C4-262, match in all cases. So quite incredible. And when I heard that, I thought, right, okay, now we're onto something. So we're going to include this, and we have included this in a sound which we're going to use to hum. And the is a very good sound, but the hum is actually a primordial sound, like the C4 primordial sound, coming from the universe and matching exactly that kind of frequency. It also stimulates within our system quite an incredible way how we can connect to our consciousness. So we have called this this project actually HUM, H-U-M, which stands just short for Humanity Humanity Unite Movement. So, and this is going to be promoted, or at this, while I'm speaking, over the last 2 weeks, have been promoted worldwide to be the project which we all going to connect to each other, and we all going to hum within that time of 4 minutes 28.1 seconds when the eclipse is going to happen. We are absolutely sure that this is the start of claiming back our freedom, and not only our freedom, but that we are, as beings, as humans, we don't need any more controllers. We don't need anybody to tell us this is our liberation, this is our moment. And many of us, probably including you as well, we've been waiting for this for many decades. And this is it. We're not going to be controlled in such a way anymore. So, and we are very, very determined. We're not going to let this one go. This is our chance. So, and that is briefly, I think I covered most of the frequencies here, but that is briefly what I've been doing for 40 years, actually, to come to this point. And I still find all these surprises, and we have also you know, it's so amazing how over the last few weeks, because we have a shop, of course, in Glastonbury, which you know, which is called Acclaim, and it's been more. It's not really about a retail shop. This is like a meeting point. Everybody comes to that place, and we talk, and we connect, and we exchange knowledge. And this is the first time as well. And that's why I was so keen to have this project coming into life, because we have usually so many different groups, and they're all dotted around the world, and many of them, unfortunately, quite ego-driven, and they miss the opportunity really to connect truly to others. And I want to be sure that we, this time, that we all connect to each other, and it doesn't matter really what we believe, because we all, it doesn't matter, you know, all what matters is that we know where we're going to, and that we have to unite and to make a change. And that's what counts. So, because if we don't, then I think we are missing most likely one of the only last chances we have before they would completely put us in a box. So, and we're not going to let that happen. That's it, you know. So this world is too beautiful to be destroyed by them. And we as humans, we are incredible beings. We are all creators. We don't need this. So, and we have the love and compassion for each other. We have empathy, and that's something they don't have either. They don't have that connection, you see. And so that's something which is in our favor, and that's what makes us different to them.
So Alex, can I play that tone then?
Yeah, sure you can. Yes.
Oh, just hang on a sec. I had it.
I love the fact that you said you excited the stone. I have not heard that expression before.
It's actually a terminology which is used in physics to excite the stone, you know, is
Yeah.
using signal.
Hang on a sec.
Yes.
But talking about humming,
Yes,
humming,
talking about
like
humming.
working with voice and sound, humming is your inner toning.
Yes,
So
exactly.
you're toning from within and working through your body. So so you're like filling your aura, your energy field with the sound of your own voice, which is so powerful.
Absolutely. And as soon as you start to hum, you can feel actually tingle up on the top of your roof
Yeah,
of
yeah.
your mouth,
And
you
your
know.
lips, yeah.
Exactly, you know, so and the vibration instantly kind of connects with all your chakras as well. So it's an amazing experience. I actually was yesterday, I should have sent you that. It was quite incredible. I was in the Glastonbury Abbey and with Vivian and our friend Ian Winston, and we just wandered and chilled out a bit because it was such a beautiful sunny day. And then I just wandered, as I always do, that wander off to kind of take some pictures and things, you know, and of course the abbey, the stones, you know. So, and then I decided to go to the Lady Chapel, which is, you know, just underneath. And so when I was walking in, I met this guy, and he was from Slovakia. His name was Martin, and he is a Buddhist. So I just bumped into him, and for some odd reason, I felt like talking to him, and I said, you know, would you mind, because the acoustics down there are quite good actually. So and I said, would you mind share you know, being part in a hum, you know, would you like to hum with me? And so I explained a little bit briefly, you know, what it's about, and he said, yeah, sure, you know, let's do this. And so I recorded actually a hum, and we did not really talk about what kind of harmonics or whatever, you know, so but we both tuned in immediately, pitch perfect. That was amazing. And the whole chapel was just like, you know, full of energy. It was incredible. And that was just two people. Now, can you imagine what it's going to be like if people do this around the world? We have AJ Roberts, who is very often promoting mass meditations and things like that. He just done, or he's just preparing one, or has done one. I can't remember. I just had a talk. I talked to him just, was it yesterday? I see the days are flying by. I think it was yesterday. And he's going to be part of it. So he's going to also organize an event on a very large scale, connecting to other networks. Then we have Medine, which is in Australia. She's doing the same. She's connecting to other networks. Sasha Stone, I'm talking to Sasha on Saturday. I have a show with him, which is not going to be a live show. It's going to be broadcasted just a week or 10 days before the event to get everybody, ready for it. So, it's just like so many different people which I met who are well connected, and big names, small names, doesn't matter. Everybody is part of it, and it seems like we don't even have to explain a lot. Everybody's just like, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we need to do, and it just comes natural, because everybody can hum. Nobody needs to have any, specific knowledge how to do this. You just hum. So
That's
that's
right.
brilliant.
You don't need to excuse me, you don't need to study, or is it this pitch, or is it that pitch, or
Exactly.
is this right? You just do it. And we all know that, like you say, this is the greatest time in history. We are making the changes, and we're not having any more of this rubbish that's been going on forever. This is
Exactly.
stopping now, and we are here at this point.
Yeah.
And let us know if you're anywhere humming. I'd love to join you.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. We have you joining. We have everybody joining. Whoever wants to come on board can come on board. We
Yeah.
have quite a few people who are going to speak at the event on Sasha's show, but he's going to be in Mexico, so we are in Mexico as well, of course, at the Eclipse event. And what we're trying to do now, we're not sure if that works, but I'm working at the moment on a video, which is with help of others, which is quite cinematic. So it's beautifully done, beautiful shots of all sorts of different images explaining the frequency, the water, how we are connected. It's only 3-minute long video, but it kind of is also a countdown, which is going to be used for the eclipse, so that we're all in time syncing in time with each other. So and that's going to be released just in a few days, and then it's going to go around all the networks, and people can either watch together with their family at home, or be part of some people even get together with the smaller group, almost like a eclipse party, if you like, and just
why not?
And it should be fun. It should be full of love and positivity, because we have enough of all this, fear mongering and telling us, this world is going to bits and we have no future. It's enough of that. We are the creators of our future. You stop now talking to us in that way. That's enough. So
we're not having it anymore. Or your
exactly.
CRAP.
Exactly.
So for people that don't know, you've got a lovely little shop in the Gauntlet called acclaim, and it is a hub. You go in there and we all chat and go over the road for coffee, and so but also there's a lovely group that meet every fortnight called the PHA, which is the People's Health Alliance. And you are going to be talking there on Friday the 15th of March from 6:30 to 9:30. So it's going to be yourself, Dr. Joe Whitaker, and also about the EE system, which Glastonbury are hoping to get down here. It's all in the pipeline. So if anybody wants to connect with you, they go round, just pop into the Gauntlet to see you. You're there, and obviously we'll put all your details up, your website and everything like that. So absolutely amazing. Like, I love anything to do with sound and frequencies, and working with the voice. I've often worked with groups and got them to do the bumblebee toning, which is covering your ears and your eyes and listening to your own sound, which is really powerful. People got no idea. It's like looking outside of yourself, a lot of the stuff, but we got the sounds within and we have to bring them out.
Yes.
And that's our powerhouse is.
Yes. See, that sound, the bees especially, again, are on the same kind of frequency. So, we're talking, and of course, in Turkey, there's a lot of belief and the ancient civilizations that had a great connection to the bees as well. There were like beehive houses, and the whole culture around it, because of the understanding of the bees. Unfortunately, also misused, by the Freemasons, but that's a different story, So their kind of presence is fading away by the second. So they're not in control anymore, and there are some people who think they are, but they're not. So and it's really time to just hum them off the planet.
Indeed, and we'll all get together to start humming.
Yes,
we don't have to wait for the solar eclipse. We can start now.
Yes. Well, this is also an event which will continue through a whole year. So we're going to continue to go at the eclipse solstices, kind of just sorry, not eclipse, the solstice, to use these kind of events to enhance what we're doing, so that we charge it up all the time. So it's, of course, the eclipse is going to be the biggest event, but this is going to continue for for a whole year, at least, until
fantastic.
we know we have done our job, and that's it.
Exactly. Yeah. So out of all the sites, which is the powerful for you that you go to, that resonates more than anywhere else in the world?
I have to say, it has to be the Merry Maidens. I don't know what it is about the Merry Maidens, but they make me smile every time when I go into the site, and it's just like a homecoming. And we have been, Vivian and I, we've been in that site quite a lot, and it's quite a personal site to us as well. But there's it's when you start to work with a stone on a more regular basis, you build up that kind of relationship, the resonance. You resonate much deeper and much quicker as well, because you come back into that field and you be it your own system, your own frequency. It's kind of tuning it much quicker the more often you go. So, and yeah, definitely has to be that site. Yes. I mean, there are much more dramatic sites around the world, but personally, does do it for me every time.
Okay. Well, I look forward to going there one of these days. But right, is there anything else you would like to share before we close today?
No, that's all. I think we covered pretty much everything. I hope it was not too confusing. And
no, it's fantastic. Can you put up the flyer, Jeffrey, to show people on screen the People Health Alliance flyer?
Jeff is just homing in on Mary Maidens. Yes.
I don't know.
It's amazing.
I don't have it, mate.
What's going there.
Yeah, okay. I did send it to you, but so I don't think people can see it this way.
But I didn't do it. Hang on. There you go. Hey, put
that's
it up.
Going to be a good. That's going to be a good event.
Put it up. Andrena, put it up.
Oh, can you see that?
Yep. All right.
Right.
Okay.
Anyway, so it's next Friday. Excuse me. Friday week. Yeah, week tomorrow's. Okay, so we have a few questions. I saw a few notes flash up. Diane says, what is your understanding of the water aspect of clear quartz crystals and their vibration, and how they interact with the master crystals in Atlantis before used in Lemuria and Avalon temples?
Again, I think this is the understanding I have about crystals, that they are containing ancient information and aligning up, and we have the ability to tap into these kind of frequencies or knowledge. So yes, I think that there is definitely a connection to it. Atlantis was one of the subjects which I kept coming across, and of course the crystals have an enormous importance in Atlantis. And yes, the sound frequencies, there's a lot more to it than we could cover a whole another program with that.
Another show.
Yeah, absolutely, totally connected. Yeah.
Right. Was there anything?
Yeah, me.
No, I meant flashed any more questions before you come in.
Nah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Oh, hang on a second. This one here.
Right. Carol says, what was the letter sound that gave you the breakthrough, or was it one of the vowel sounds?
It was more the frequency, to be honest, which came, as I explained, from the whales. So that in that respect, there was not really a letter as such connected. It was just there are actually, and I have to explain that quickly. So there is a secret language of water, And that secret language of water has its own alphabet, which is not known to many people. But I talked to a linguist actually in Germany, and he was researching the old waterways, the names of the old river systems, many of them which are in Wales, which are still kind of containing some of the old names. And there used to be a completely different alphabet connected to it, which is really totally different. And the sounds of the letters are completely different to our known alphabet. So that's something which has been also changed in history, is how we speak, how the sounds we're using. And that again is quite a subject. But so this letter which we used, or which was connected to the sound, was actually not from our noun alphabet. It was known from the water alphabet, if you call it the water alphabet, which is the secret language of water. So, and yeah, that's just in short how I can explain it without
Sounds
going.
fascinating.
Yes.
Hey,
He has deciphered 6 letters of the alphabet, which is quite incredible. Yeah.
two things. While you're talking about in the conversation there, it took me to Star Trek: The Voyage Home, where Spock, who actually wrote that play, if you want to call it as such, brought forth the tone from an obelisk that came through from the galaxies to put the planet Earth in a ping, and then he devised the fact that when you put it through the system, it actually came back to the whales and the sound of the whales. I was just giving you how that sort of synopsis came across when you were talking. The second is that I did work with Dr. Marcel Vogel, and he was IBM's chief scientist. He had a gold card. His claim to fame was second generation tape storage retrieval systems. And but he jumped out of IBM in the sense that he had a gold card to go to any one of their libraries or their research labs. But he went to Berkeley, and he was going there to hang out with all the crystal kids, you know, who played volleyball in the sand and come and work their own time and all that. And that's where he conceptualized crystals. He actually made 6 sided crystals and then programmed the crystals. So he brought it to our attention that in the Napa Valley, he programmed a crystal to communicate with the grape juice as it got squeezed to actually reach its most optimum bouquet. And so instead of taking 8 years to mature, it only took 12 months.
Yeah.
But he also showed us how to program the crystal and also to use it as a scanning device to actually retrieve information out of any magazine or book, or in that sense that it went straight into the crystal. And then if you had to sit down for an exam, you could then switch the crystal to the other hand, depending on if you're right-handed or left-handed. And then you would just ask the crystal retrieve the knowledge that was contained in that crystal to write the answer for the exam. So was it just about utilizing the crystal as basically a PDA, you know, a private device that you could retrieve. And of course, what I've found in my research is that any one of those crystals works with its own crystal enclave, or the whole crystal enclave right around the planet. So it's just like having a mobile phone that's connected to the, you know, to the towers. But of course, crystal is actually connected to its mother cluster, if you want to call it as such, and then you can just retrieve that knowledge from the whole cluster.
Yes, it's incredible information. I'm very interested in these kind of researches as well. So anything to do with crystals and of course information carriers, you know. So and I think in ancient times we had a much greater understanding how we can download, if you like, you know, certain frequencies into crystals and retrieve them at times when needed. So and still people use it for healing purposes and all this, of course. But I think there's a lot more to it which we still don't understand. But yeah, thank you for that information. That is very interesting. Yes.
Well, we've also seen it in the movie Superman, isn't it? So Superman would go to the Arctic where the crystal cave, and he just put the things in there, up she came. So it's just about a hologram, just interfacing with it. Sorry, carry on.
Carol and I went to a talk in Bath, oh God, about, I don't know how many past lives ago now, where we listened to a gentleman and he played the bird song, and he speeded it up, and it was the whale song. And then when he played the whale songs, and then he slowed it down and speeded it up to the bird song. It was amazing.
Yeah.
There's
everything around us is connected, really, even so we are surrounded by so many different frequencies, but there are some key frequencies really which carry everything, and that's what I'm learning more and more. So there's, especially with the C4 note, it is kind of one note, but it has so many different harmonics and consists out of so many frequencies, especially the one which I just recorded from out of space, it also samples actually the sound, same frequency from water crashing, waves kind of crashing over the sand. It makes exactly the same sound. And some of the flutes, which are really ancient flutes, have this kind of breathy sound, so, and they kind of resemble that sound. That's why it's so difficult for any other instrument to kind of play that note. So you would have to have one of these ancient sounds, flutes. So, which brings me to one of my friends who's in Turkey. He's Kurdish and he is a musician. So he has one of these old, ancient instruments, and he's going to actually send me a recording of that specific sound just before the eclipse. So that will be a treat. Yes.
Fabulous. And when I work with voices, the note of C, you start at the scale from C. C relates to the sign of Aries and is the color red. So it's the grounding.
Color red, exactly. Absolutely. That's it. Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Jeffrey, did you have something to say?
Yeah. Hey, there's two instruments that I would suggest you have a play with. One is the piano accordion. Now, we've found with the piano accordion, you can actually hit all 5 octaves in the same note.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can go to your C4 and hit all 5 octaves, boom, and it just means that males and females can actually tone according to their voice, whether they're a soprano or an alto, or they're a countertenor or a tenor, or baritone or a bass, But people don't realize that in German and Austrian and Italian arias, any male who comes in with a bass profundo voice, it's a voice that you don't really hear, but it's a voice of authority. But when that voice turns up, those opera houses say, "Maestro, how much do you want?" I mean, it's an amazing tone to have. So the other one is, I just can't think of the name, but it's that instrument that's got the little aerial that comes up, and you play it in the air. You know that one?
Yeah.
Which one is that? Sorry.
Okay, so it's got a bass, but it's got no strings attached to it. There's no keyboard, but it's just got a little antenna, a little aerial that comes up.
All right. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And you can play up and down the scale just using the airwaves.
Yes.
So that's the second instrument that I would suggest you utilize back at that crystal. Now, because the one that you looked at down towards Land's End, what did you call it? Bicycle. What did you call it? Starts with
Boscovenon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that one. Now, when you go there, at one end, I think it's pointing to the south. It's got all the lights on it, but it's actually a crystal. It's called crystal.
That's right.
That stone is called crystal.
Yes.
So
massive crystal rock. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd definitely go in there and try those instruments, mate.
Yes. We have done, actually, I don't know, did I show you, Andrena, the pictures we took from the crystallized, the ice crystals from, did I show you that? From the water.
Theremin. Nice. I knew Carol would come up with the answer.
Can't remember. So we did this amazing little experiment where we used some of the water which came from some rainy day, kind of collected on top of the stone, Boscaven on, and it's a little bit like crystallography, so where you get the messages inside the water, like Dr. Emoto, and many others as well. And so what we did is we semi-froze in the petri dish the water to see what kind of outcome it had, what kind of message we would get. And first we did it with the aquan, and the beautiful A would appear, which was in different, because our scientist has developed this beautiful way of highlighting all the rainbow spectrums within it. And so we had a beautiful A which shone for aquan, which was quite interesting.
Oh, and for Andrena.
Yes, yeah. So and the second one, which we collected from the Boscaven on stone, because the site is a little bit is connected to UFO sightings as well because of that crystal rock, so it's kind of really incredibly energetic. And so we collected the water, and in the petri dish, when we took the photograph, we couldn't believe it. There was a UFO which kind of
really
formed within the crystals, very, very clearly, very clearly.
Wow, you'll have to show us that.
Yeah. So it's amazing. Water is communicating with us on such profound way. Incredible. It's just, we just need to pay attention, and that's what is the message which I put out there for such a long time now, to pay attention to the water you're drinking. Don't drink just any tap water or water which is coming from a harmful source, because you will actually make yourself sick. Yeah. So pay attention, restructure your water. There are many ways how you can do this. You can use distilled water and then just add some Celtic salt and some minerals to restructure it. There are many ways of doing it. That's one reason why we came up with aquan, so that people can use it in their drinking water to restructure it. So it's so important. And you don't hydrate otherwise. You're going to be constantly, chronically dehydrated if you drink the wrong water. So please do.
And they can come to the shop and talk with you or Lucy about any of the different water, because I know you've got a different selection, and you've got some face creams and all sorts of wonderful things. So highly recommended.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. If there's nothing else, we'll
I
close.
think we covered it all. Yes.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me as well. So.
Well, no, it's been a pleasure, and it was a pleasure to connect with you. And it was, Ian sent me the video of you two coming up to Glastonbury, and then I thought, oh, so here we are. So so it's been absolutely fascinating, right up my street with the sound and the tones and the stones. So thank you very much for sharing all your amazing stories.
Thank you so much for having me today. And thanks,
right.
Jeff. Thank you, Jeff, for all your input and for your information. Amazing.
Yeah,
for doing all the images in the background. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, everybody. Same time next week.
See you next week.